Good morning to you. 741 at iFiber One News Radio this Monday morning. Happy to talk with Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury. And good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Great.
A lot of things going on here to talk about. And where would you like to start? What would you like to start off with?
I had a list of some really neat things going on, or just some people to recognize. First of all, Corporal Bill Reed was promoted last week to sergeant. It was a big day there, and we're really proud of Bill, and he'll do a great job for us out on the road. I wanted to recognize Judge Steve Buzzard, who's retired out of Lewis County, but he came out and addressed the Sheriff's Advisory Board that's opened a public meeting last week. The week before, people had said, we'd like to hear from a judge, so I was able to get a hold of Steve, and he so kindly came out and addressed our group for us, which is really nice, just answered different questions that a judge can answer.
What were some of the questions, people? Why would they?
I think sometimes there's a couple guys that are attorneys in the group anyway that have that pretty much the same background, but I guess it isn't the same unless it comes from a judge.
Right.
Some questions had to do with like firearms questions and things like that, and the use of a firearm, since that's big news now, and that's always a question, no matter what meeting you go to, that always comes up. Mm-hmm. But he answered just other legal questions about trespass issues and things like that. I caught the end of, I was actually doing something else, and he came in and caught the first half of it for us, and so he just answered it, whatever people questions they wanted to ask about how the court operates. He gave a brief explanation of the court and how the different courts operate, which is really neat. Oh, and sentencing guidelines, that was one that he covered. People want to know why it is that judges don't do certain things, and he explained the sentencing guidelines that are imposed by the state on judges. They have to stay within ranges, and what those ranges mean, and how the values, point value, or however that works in there, that they have to go by. So it isn't just a judge's discretion on everything. It's, they've got to stay within those point ranges. So it was very great. It was a great explanation for the public to hear that.
Do officers generally have normal interactions with judges when it comes to either the cases that they had worked on or just in kind of a day-to-day passing? No,
and that's part of the reason that I invited Judge Buzzard out, because it's tough in your own county to invite your own judges out, because they might be interacting on cases that you're on. You can't be doing that.
No.
And for them in county to comment on any cases that may come up here is inappropriate in some circumstances for them. And so he was able to come out and as a retired judge and speak on some issues. Now, he does sit every once in a while for one of our judges if they're out for the day or something, but it's nice to be able to have that, to have him come out. But no, you don't. You don't. Well, we go to meetings and things, but we don't discuss any of the cases or anything like that.
Oh, interesting.
Then we had Kiwanis Officer of the Year last week, which is really neat for all the agencies. They had officers from their agencies. Mason County is really neat because we have so many diverse groups of law enforcement in our community, and we're all such small agencies. We work very closely. So Jeff Rhodes was selected by his peers from our office as Deputy Sheriff of the Year, as a detective, and Joe Johnson was selected from our jail. And then I'll throw out another one. Travis Joyce is a state trooper that lives in Mason County, but he patrols out of Thurston and received the Kiwanis Law Enforcement Officer of the Year for Thurston County, but he's a Shelton resident.
So that's cool.
We're really thrilled. I got to go over and watch Travis receive his award. I had a chance to go to really neat thing. I've got the second time I've got to do this, but I got to be this guest speaker at the Southside School promotional ceremony last week. Those students leaving Southside, moving into town. It's kind of a big thing to go from a smaller school to a bigger school. What a wonderful program. Every year, Southside does such a wonderful job out there with their staff putting that together for their students. And my kids both went there, so it was really neat to see those kids go on. So that was fun.
What do you tell the kids?
Well, I think one of the things for me, and I watch even with my own kids this last couple of years going into college and things, that sometimes kids think because they're from a smaller school district, the opportunities are different. And I actually think sometimes that's the opposite. I think kids coming from a smaller district, they get really close supervision. And when you're together in a tiny school like that for that many of years, most of those kids are almost like brothers and sisters. They're so close. And the kids at those schools that go on, just like my kids did, they seem to, their original friends, those kids from Southside, they seem to stay in contact for the rest of their lives. They spent, they're pretty much right together that whole time in the same classroom every year, just a different teacher. So it's a neat deal out there. Really a wonderful program that they put on at Southside School. They have some tremendously successful kids come out of there. So
for sure.
It was really fun being there. And then tomorrow, Chief Sperling and I are going to be talking to the Kiwanis Club in town here about some of the local and nationwide issues surrounding drug issues that have become, especially in the heroin thing. If you watch TV, it is affecting all of the United States on that. I used to teach drug education classes when I was a teacher, and then also for the sheriff's office in Thurston for years. And Ryan's kind of a specialist in the area as well. So we're just going to be talking about the things that are occurring around law enforcement around our area right now, and the changes that we've made to deal with that.
How is the drug epidemic around Mason County these days? I know in the later aughts there was heavy methamphetamine and opioid drug use. Are these numbers coming down? People using the OxyContins as well? Or
when I first came here, I know that that was a big thing. The first year I ran, what are you going to do about the meth problem? And actually, it wasn't. I'm not saying there wasn't a problem, but it wasn't as prevalent as people had it in their mind to be, and it was kind of going on the downward slide by then. And we put together a PROACT team, but the labs that characteristically came up many years ago when we were doing a lot of lab stuff, those were starting to go away by then, and there still is meth. It just comes in different ways. This heroin issue that you see on the national news all the time, all over, I say it's kind of proportional. I'll hear people say, "Oh, we got this big problem," but the truth is no better or no worse than anywhere else. It's proportional, and so there are places that have a lot worse. And of course, there's all this controversy over needle exchange or not needle exchange, and those things going on in different communities. And it's a horrific problem, no matter where you're at, because it affects every community. It really does affect all the different communities in the state. It's a big concern for all the sheriffs and police chiefs across the state.
Well, good information as always. Nice talking with you, Casey. I know you're busy as well, moving on to other conversations throughout the day, so we'll let you go. But come back next week and let me know how that meeting was with the Kiwanis.
Thank you so much.
Good to talk
Bye-bye.
with you.